Hello, after quite a long break, I'm back podcasting again. Like so many of you, I got COVID in sort of February, I think, end of February. And although it didn't last very long, I did still have a bit of a sore throat for quite a time, actually. And every time I started to do a podcast, I was sort of needing water, and I thought, give it a rest. So, what I'd like to share with you is I did a lot of sessions over the Easter holidays when I run my sort of basically a confidence and resilience course. And I call it a junior NLP program because it's 4 1 hour sessions where children learn, particularly I'd say children who are in year 6, who are going off to year 7 in September, which can be quite a transition for them, and the school prepares them extremely well in most cases. But the junior NLP program covers one section that I particularly like to talk to you about today, which is how we learn. And one of the things I've noticed about the children I work with is that when, say, in a class, they don't completely understand what the teacher is saying, they're a bit confused, they don't follow it, and they sort of lose concentration because they've sort of lost really the thread. The person they blame is themselves. So, what they make that mean is that I'm stupid, I'm confused, I don't get it, I can't do it. Um, and it triggers them in quite badly, really. And that then blocks them from following the rest of the lesson. And one of the things, it also doesn't help, obviously, when they come to do the homework that evening. So, one of the things we talk about is sort of responsibility for communication, shall we say. And I ask them if they don't understand what a teacher's saying, whose responsibility is it, percentage wise? And what they usually say is 50-50. But then I say, what do you really feel though when you're in the class? And they say, well, more like 80-20, as in it's 80% their responsibility to understand and 20% the teachers. And I do wonder whether perhaps teachers also feel that it's mostly up to the child to focus, to concentrate, pay attention, listen, etc., not lark about. Um, but they feel that logically it's about 50-50. And as I said, they're experiencing it much greater than that it's mostly their fault. Then I talk to them about the fact that teachers are actually given a lot of training, they have masses of experience, they've delivered this lesson or similar lessons before. So now, what percentage? And it's quite interesting because they realize that, of course, they're hearing this lesson for the first time. The teacher knows this stuff. They've done a university degree, they've had lots of experience. This is their area of speciality, their specialism. And when they think of it like that, they realize that actually it's more like 80% responsibility of the teacher and only 20% for them. So this makes them question, the fact that maybe it isn't just that they're stupid, because that is a blocker when they feel that. It really does stop them then progressing with the rest of the lesson. It sets up a sort of, I can't do this, I don't understand block. When they think about it like that, they then start to think, well, yeah, I do have I should ask. And when we have that discussion, they also say that perhaps actually maybe others in the class don't understand as well. Once they start thinking about, well, actually, maybe it isn't just me, maybe others don't understand. So that gets them thinking, well, maybe I could put my hand up and ask. And what do they think that they're going to say? So I asked a boy, in fact, I think it was yesterday, and he said, I'm sorry, sir, I just don't understand. Um, and there again, we've got an I'm sorry. Yes, respectful, of course, but actually, I'm sorry suggests that it is actually something that they've done wrong. So, therefore, confirming that it's them that's at fault. And I just don't understand. Well, just minimizes, doesn't it? And but I just don't understand also emphasizes that it's all about them and not understanding. So we talk a bit about how we might reword that, but basically what it comes down to is encouraging your child to stand up for their right to have the teaching explained in a way that they can understand, asking if the teacher can repeat it perhaps, or repeat it a little slower, or go over it again, or whatever. And this actually leads to my talking about how we learn, because we all learn differently. We're quite unique in a sense, but there are generalizations, and those in NLP terms are we call visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So if you throw into this equation that you've got maybe a class of 30 children, all of whom learn, they have a preference whether they're visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, and as does the teacher. So understanding which your child prefers is a great help. And I thought that children were taught this at school. I think mine were, but that was a little while ago. So have a chat with your child about how they learn. And actually, this is explained extremely well, though I say it myself, in my books. And you'll certainly find that in Be a Happier Parent with NLP. You'll find it in Empower Your Kids and Understanding Children and Teens. And there's almost certainly other blog posts and things that I've written about it. But in a nutshell, visual is where you learn by what you see. So it would be diagrams, it would be posters, it would be videos, it would be things that you see. It would be, and that would be important that you, if you learn visually, that you also are allowed to write notes so that you can see what you've written. Now, I believe in some classes you're not actually allowed to do that, which surprises me, because for most children, actually writing something down, underlining it, doing circles, doing boxes, doing arrows, really helps them to integrate the learning. So if you're a visual learner, you're looking at something, you want to see what you're learning. If you are an auditory learner, then you obviously want to listen. And auditory learners, and indeed kinesthetic, that I'll explain in a minute, auditory learners process a little slower. They just, because, and this isn't like a negative thing, it's because they're listening attentively to the actual words. They pay attention to the words used. They're really focusing on the listening, where the visual learner is focusing on what they see. So the auditory learner is needs a little longer to process. They tend to be sort of a little bit more musical, and on a negative side, in a sort of disruption side, um, if, say, somebody's tapping a pen, or talking to them, or asking them something, or there's some noises in the background, they actually find it really hard to concentrate. So if you have an auditory learner, they'll either need silence, or they'll want to control the noise by having their headphones on and listening to music while they're, say, doing their homework. So if yours is an auditory learner and they say, I want to listen to my music, as long as they're actually doing their homework and getting the marks you're looking for, or they're looking for, that's actually how they learn. And it really is, it isn't them just, trying to get out of doing their homework. But in a class, it's obviously can be quite difficult for them to concentrate if there are noises around. And a kinesthetic learner will learn through actually doing. So they will find things like science, where you're sort of hands-on, maybe doing experiments, or any classes where they're actively learning through doing. So maybe debating, or doing a sort of project together. So that's how they learn. Your kinesthetic learner will be quite affected by temperature. So if your classroom has a window open because of COVID and they're cold, they'll really struggle to concentrate, or indeed in the summer if the window's closed and they're overly hot. So they're very sensitive to temperature. They're also sensitive to food and hunger. So they'll find it quite difficult in the lesson coming up to lunchtime when they haven't eaten for a while. So it'll be important for them to have snacks in the morning and have plenty to eat. And they'll also be getting hungry towards the end of the day. And it's really important they obviously have some sort of breakfast, even if it's of a smoothie or something like that. So visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learners can be determined like that. Now, if you've got, say, an auditory or kinesthetic learner in the family, but the teacher is visual, that can be tricky sometimes, in so much as the visual teacher tends to have a slightly higher voice, higher pitched voice, because they're processing very fast, much faster than the auditory or kinesthetic learner. So they talk quite fast. They're slightly higher pitch because they're really accessing images. They're sort of looking up into their brain, and that sends their voice up a bit. And they're actively searching for the images. Maybe they're imagining the sort of page that they're talking about, or imagining, say, something in history or geography, sort of seeing in their mind maybe a volcano or a picture of a landscape. And so that sort of teacher, if they're tending to focus very much on teaching in a visual way, it could well be that the auditory or kinesthetic learner in the class is struggling a little bit. Obviously, in an ideal world, and this is how I work with my clients, my child and teen clients, is that we might do an activity. Well, we do lots of activities, actually. It's quite fun in the sessions I do. I will talk about it in all three ways. So I'll say, do you see this Lego on the table? And I expect you're imagining what you're going to do with it. That's visual. Auditory is, well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to explain what we're going to do. Auditory. And kinesthetic, I want you to build a model of trust or friendship or failure or fear of failure or something like that. So you cover all three. And as a parent, that's important too, because I know lots of mums get exasperated with their teens' bedrooms being in a mess. And, some parents I was working with yesterday said that they had to keep their own private supply of towels because their daughter sort of used up all the towels, and all these wet towels were sort of distributed around the carpet in her room, and that she ran out of clothes and various things like that. And so think about, is your child visual, auditory, or kinesthetic? And if you're not sure, cover all three by saying, look at the state of your room. So that's visual. I'm sure I asked you to clear it up, and I, really liked you to do that. Just, and explain perhaps why. I'd like to explain why. It's because we've run out of towels and you've run out of clothes. And then kinesthetic is just get on and do it. If you've got quite a young child, they might like the challenge of, I wonder how quickly you can do it. So the doing words very much relate to kinesthetic. So the purpose really of this podcast is to really get you having some curiosity about your child and their learning pattern. We've just gone back to school after the Easter break. Many children have got exams coming up, probably a little late for some in terms of revision. But the sort of cramming the night before, or just going through your notes and so on. A visual learner with exams coming up needs to read them and potentially write things out as well, but reading them and looking will be a good thing for them to do. Maybe a video, say if they're doing history, a video that's of that period, or a TV, sort of a film or something like that, will really help them sort of ingrain and get a sense of that period and and the topic. An auditory learner will be sort of great to have sort of podcasts or YouTube videos. Well, that's good really for all of them. But also maybe reading out loud, hearing it really helps. So reading out loud, get them to tell you about it. Tell me about whatever the subject is, in a nutshell, what's the story of, whatever. So getting them to explain it for an auditory child will be helpful, and to talk about it, to record something for themselves as a reminder, sort of like top 10 points about the whatever that particular topic, things I need to remember are, and just to record it. And the kinesthetic learner, actually, yes, walking around, if your child says, oh, it really helps me to walk around the garden, yes, it probably does if they're kinesthetic. Being cooped up inside is not great for a kinesthetic. Being sitting still is also not great. You can certainly tell if your child is kinesthetic if they're very fidgety. And if I have a child like that in the therapy room, we'll go outside, have a wander around, and just talk, as we walk around the garden, because it's much easier to talk to a child, when you're not face to face, and also if you're doing something. So, if your child's getting anxious about exams, um, think about doing that. Drag them off on a dog walk, have a chat sort of in the car, driving them somewhere or picking them up. It'll be so much easier. And there's lots and lots of ways that you can help with anxiety. I would say the best is EFT, which is tapping, and you'll find loads of tapping videos on my YouTube channel, which is called NLP Kids. And if you're not sure, or if you want some help, please get in touch. I'm incredibly available, embarrassingly, because I just love what I do so much. I will always take a call unless I've actually got a client with me. So just get in touch, and I look forward to helping you further. But you'll find all of this stuff in my books, which are readily available on Amazon, and of course on my website. So that's enough for now. And for those of you with children doing exams, best of luck. And I hope all goes well and that you come out the other side smiling. Okay, bye.